Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're talking about some surprising Nintendo Switch 2 news that just dropped. I wasn't really anticipating something like this, I don't really think many people were, but this news does suggest something that will ultimately improve our experience on the console. But then beyond that, we also got an interesting update on the Nintendo Direct Switch 1 situation. So there have been rumors for a Nintendo Direct about Switch 1 happening this month of February. We got another rumor from a credible place on that situation, so we'll also be touching on that and what that may imply for the bigger Switch 2 Direct this April. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So today, different news outlets are reporting on this latest patent that has surfaced about Switch 2. And similar to the patents we discussed last week, how they're basically showcasing the Switch 2 in its final form, there's a strong suggestion that what we see in the final product will actually be taking advantage of the features discussed in these patents. And so I point that out because yes, there are times when Nintendo has patents out there that apply to some sort of technology in an abstract way that we never see come to market. This is not abstract, this is very solid, clear, concise, specific, and so many people, myself included, think it actually is telling us literally something we're going to be able to do with the Switch 2 when it comes out a few months from now. And so here's an image as shown from Video Games Chronicle. We can see that the Joy-Cons are upside down, but if you pay close attention, you'll notice that the volume buttons are still here at the top as they always are, and the speaker holes are at the bottom as they always are. But why are the Joy-Cons upside down? Well, that's because this patent is telling us about how the Switch 2 can be flipped upside down, or the Joy-Cons can be flipped upside down. You can attach them however you choose, regardless of side, unlike the Switch 1, where you had the rails that only allow them to be placed into the tablet in one specific way. So here it reads, the user can use the game system by mounting the right controller and the left controller on the opposite side to the main body device. According to this, the user can use a game system in such a manner that the component becomes a favorable arrangement. For example, the user can use the game system so that the upper and lower sides of the main body device are opposite to each other, such that the voice input-output connector on the upper surface of the main body device is located below the main body device. That is, the user can insert the earphone into the voice input-output connector from the preferred direction. So basically what this means is that you can be playing on your Switch 2, and you can decide, oh, I don't really like how the headphone jack is on the top, it's not comfortable for me. And so you can flip the tablet, remove the Joy-Cons, place them on the opposite ends, and now all of a sudden the bottom side of the tablet is at the top from your perspective, and you could have your headset plugged into the top there where it's more comfortable to you. And I don't think that's the only way this could be benefiting us. So we already know that the Switch 2 has two different USB-C ports, one on the top and the bottom. And when I saw this for the first time, I thought, oh, that's great, we can plug in the charger from the bottom or the top, whatever feels more comfortable at the time. But with us also being able to flip the tablet so we can take advantage of either port on either side, I think this also has some potential applications with different peripherals that we can connect to the tablet. Maybe a camera peripheral, maybe some sort of VR headset down the road. There's a lot of different things we can connect to either USB-C port. And so really there's going to be a lot of flexibility with what can be done here. And I really just think I'm scratching the surface on what's possible. I start to think about how for Super Mario Party on Switch 1, the tablets could be next to each other and there could be actually some games connecting in that way. What if they build on this for Switch 2 and we could have experiences where people are putting their tablets next to each other in different orientations, and that offers for a variety of different gameplay ideas. They could come up with some really creative board game-like ideas in this fashion. But something else I'd like to note is that they refer to the voice input-output connector. Now, I'm aware that on Switch 1, there were some games you could plug a headset into and you would be able to experience voice chat, but for Nintendo games, you were not able to do so. You can only do so through the Switch mobile app for select games, and it just didn't work really well. So while in theory there may be nothing literally different here, just this choice of wording has me wondering if there is going to be more of a focus on having traditional voice chat on the system. We've already discussed in the past how the C button, that extra button that's been added to the right Joy-Con, may pertain to some group chat features having to do with Nintendo Switch Online. And so considering that Nintendo in the past hasn't had these features on their consoles, this is kind of a big deal. Now, something else I'd like to point out is that last week from the patents we had learned that the Switch 2 tablet may have a 9-axis motion sensor, just like the Wii U, which offers an extra level of motion control, and I wonder if this has something to do with this functionality we're seeing here with the patent where we can flip around the tablet. And it also has me wondering what other things could be done. I'm thinking about this from an accessibility perspective on how it might improve our comfort of playing games and having different ways to play games, but what about literally in the games themselves, different unique things we could do, similar to a lot of the stuff we saw during the Wii and Wii U era. This can also be possible. I guess I did just talk about how maybe we could connect tablets together to create like a massive game board. That's one option, but even if you just have one tablet with the motion controls, will you be able to move it around and do different things? Might this be Nintendo also somewhat future-proofing themselves when they do want to dive into the VR game? A lot of people thought they could maybe dive into the VR game with Switch, and there was Labo VR that sort of handled that idea a little bit from a very simple perspective, but with Switch 2 being more powerful, having a bigger screen at a higher resolution, there might be a little bit more that they can accomplish there. And so having 9-axis motion controls might be great setup for that potential eventuality. So I think it's interesting that we continue to get Nintendo Switch 2 news, even though a lot of people didn't think we were going to get Nintendo Switch 2 news before the April Direct. We've gotten multiple patents that seem to be confirming different features for the console, as we just discussed, and also the patents from last week that essentially confirm the mouse control features of the Joy-Cons and also how they attach, and showcasing that this new connection to the Joy-Cons is actually very secure, and it's been thought about and tested to a great degree, so for those worrying that it might break easily, seems like Nintendo's been planning ahead for that. And then also we had the earnings release with the Q&A with Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa, where there are a lot of things discussed, giving us some ideas about cross-gen titles, price point, and how they're really holding back until the big reveal on April 2nd. And then also we've heard from some different third-party partners that they want to support the Switch 2, like Take-Two, maybe providing Grand Theft Auto down the road, or Capcom, maybe providing Monster Hunter Wilds down the road. So certainly the last week has had some interesting Switch 2 news. But a lot of people have also been hoping to see something about Switch 1. There have been reports that there will be a February Direct, mostly from PH Brazil, but another insider has come out and said that they've heard something as well, and that is Jeff Grubb. So Jeff Grubb, during his Last of the Nintendogs podcast yesterday, and their show will be linked in the description below, and me paraphrasing what was said, basically, Jeff Grubb heard from a reliable source, his words, he said reliable source, that there will be a Direct in February, and after some time he asked again, so a second time he asked his reliable source, and they still told him that yes, there's going to be a Nintendo Direct in February. Now, he later on specified that this source is a third-party connection, so basically, the reason why this source knows about it is because they are a third-party company that will be involved with the Direct. And Jeff was quick to say that we maybe should temper expectations with this Direct, that this Direct wouldn't be like a big general, basically. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's what he said. He's more so hinting at that this is going to be some kind of Direct presentation, but we probably shouldn't be expecting the biggest, most epic Direct of all time. That's probably going to come on April 2nd, with the Switch 2 Direct. And so, hearing this has me thinking, okay, yeah, so that's another source out there that's suggesting that a Direct is still happening in February, but it is coming from a third-party source, as I've expected that the one from PH Brazil was as well. And this does have me leaning in the direction of, well, sure, there are some third parties that are expecting a Direct, but there's probably a pretty good chance it's not a general Direct, more likely a Nintendo Direct partner showcase as Nintendo's been doing more regularly lately, and maybe possibly a Direct Mini because we are still anticipating some first-party Nintendo announcements. But we also saw that just a few months ago, Nintendo announced Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, a pretty significant announcement that normally would have been announced in a Direct earlier in the Switch generation, and we've only been getting updates on this game through social media, through Twitter and such, and not specifically from Directs. And Nintendo may continue this pattern with Switch 1 games moving forward. It's not clear yet. What we see happening in this month of February regarding this Switch 1 Direct will probably give us a pretty good understanding of how Nintendo is going to handle things moving forward. If there is a Direct Mini or a general Direct with first-party Nintendo announcements, then we know they're still willing to have Directs for Switch 1. If it's just a partner showcase, and then maybe they have some social media announcements about some other first-party games, maybe like the rumored Kirby Planet Robobot, then that's probably how they're going to be moving forward from now on. But an interesting implication of us getting not a general or a mini, if it ends up just being a partner or just like a social media Twitter Direct of some kind, is that the Switch 2 is really close. I've been theorizing that the console is actually coming out as soon as May 15th, which maybe is a little bit earlier than many people are thinking, and I understand that. But if Nintendo's no longer willing to have first-party announcements in their own Directs, then I think that's a strong sign that we're very close to the release of the console. We've already talked about how they had a very quick turnaround for Switch 1 from its first look to its big presentation to its release, and we could be seeing a very similar window of time here, if not even a little bit shorter. So not having any major Directs in February might sort of suggest that there aren't any major first-party announcements for Switch 1 coming out relatively soon, and with only Xenoblade Chronicles X having a specific date, well, maybe that Switch 2 Direct is going to be giving us a specific date for Switch 2 titles in May or June, meaning yes, it's coming out pretty soon. But another potential implication is what Nintendo is doing with Metroid, because Metroid Prime 4 is a Switch 1 title, but if Nintendo doesn't show it off in a Direct in February, then I think that kind of strongly suggests that, yeah, it's probably going to be shown in the Switch 2 Direct, which in turn suggests it's probably going to have some sort of cross-generational enhancement for Switch 2. A lot of us are thinking we should get updates on Metroid Prime 2 or 3, and maybe 4, but if we don't get updates on Metroid in this month of February, then I'm strongly expecting to see Prime 4 and the Switch 2 Direct. I mean, I'm expecting to see Prime 4 and Switch 2 Direct regardless, but if we don't see it in February, my confidence level in seeing it in the Switch 2 Direct goes even higher. But with now both PH Brazil and Jeff Grubb doubling down on their reliable sources suggesting a Direct will be happening in February, I think we have some decent room for hope here that a Direct is still going to happen. Now, of course, plans can change, you never know for sure, but there's still plenty of time left in the month, so we'll see how things shake out. But what do you make of all this latest news and reports? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.